Well, you won't have seen this in a campervan video before, but something I never ever thought that I would personally buy. That was my fillet steak. You can actually hire this from Murray in Plymouth, but all along the way there's always been pros and cons. This standard Kia PV5 passenger vehicle is now a fully off-grid 4-berth campervan, and over the next few days I'm going to be taking it on a coastal road trip to test it out. We're going to be testing out the rooftop bed. We're also going to be testing out the bed downstairs as well, and we'll find out how the electrics, the cooking facilities affect the range of this battery, and how warm will the vehicle be at night. We'll also test it as a daily driver just to see how it can cope doing my daily duties. Let's get off to the first place which we're going to visit. So the plan is now to go to a local campsite, Riverside in Plymouth. So I'm now in Ivybridge because I've just set off from Murray Kia. So I'm going to head there now, have a night there in the downstairs bed and see how I get on. But first of all, let me talk about the driving impressions of this. I've driven 300 yards, so at the moment there's not really an awful lot I can say, but it's electric, and I know there's going to be negative comments because it's electric and people don't like electric, but to be perfectly honest with you, I've long dispelled those myths. Oh, you can't, you know, you have to stop for half an hour to charge and this, that and the other, and I'll get onto that in more information as I go along, because obviously I've got the Volkswagen ID.7 vehicle I absolutely love, never had any problems with the charging, never any concerns, never any extended trips because I'm having to charge and things, but that does have a large range. Now this is the 71 kilowatt hour battery Kia, and that means it does 256 miles for 100% charge, but we'll find out exactly how that does actually cope. So yes, Riverside campsite, nice campsite, full facilities, hot showers, toilets, open all year round, I do believe. So I'm here on site, it's getting dark, it's raining, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare this, get it ready for bed, get everything sorted out, have something to eat, and then go to bed and prepare for my trip up north tomorrow. And I've just found a second problem. Oh, look at that deer! Not sure if you can see that. Woo! Catch that? How cool's that? Riverside. I've just seen some pheasants or whatever they are. Not sure what they were, but that's pretty cool. So I've only been in here 3 minutes. I've already seen 3 lots of wildlife. Anyway, I shall catch up with you in the morning. So I just interrupt you on that drive on the way up to a few places which I'm going, and I will explain that I am going to them places for a specific reason. They're all to do with this electric vehicle, but I thought I'd interrupt just to actually briefly show you exactly what it is, and then later as we go into the video I'll show you how I've been using it and how I've got on, and also what I've thought of it. I've found quite a few problems so far. Not problems, just things that could do with addressing. Anyway, so we have a Slidepod and then we've got a Skypod on the roof, so now it sleeps 4 people. So Slidepod, as the name would suggest, it is a pod that slides out. So in this particular one, we've got a Dometic sink. We've got obviously cold water in there. And then in here, we've got an induction hob. Yeah, and something does happen to that later on in the video, because now I'm filming this on day 3. We've got a 12-volt outlet. We've got a USB port, USB-C and obviously USB-A. And then we've got the light switch here, which shows you the lights. And then you've got the water pump. Shower outlet here. So got the shower that can connect on there, and then you can hook that up there so you can have a shower. And previously when I've used the Slidepod, I've actually used that rather effectively. It isn't hot water, it is only cold water, so you might have to have your big boy brave pants on. In here we've obviously got a cupboard, and in the cupboard we've got some storage area, and importantly here there's a switch. Now this switch, I won't flick it because there is actually some wastewater in there, but that's the wastewater outlet. So you flick that switch and there's a pump which pumps water. So all your waste, you can put that over the grey waste area, put it over the top, and then it can drain down, or alternatively you can put a water tank underneath. Around the side here there's some pockets for your cutlery and things like that. You can store things in there. And here we've got the table lip, so that's the bit that kind of holds the table, so we've got an external table there as well. Now round the back of it, around the back of the slide pod, you've got the water tanks. So you've got water tanks, and then you've got the power cables. So the power cable, the lights etc. at the moment are actually being powered by a power bank. So there's a power bank providing that, and then the power bank can be charged by the engine's battery, the traction battery of the actual vehicle. The induction hub connects directly into the V2L, the vehicle to load, because this is an electric vehicle. It's got a 240 volt socket at the front of the vehicle, in between the driver and passenger seats. That's one of the, well, that's a problem you're not really going to change. I mean, as for a leisure vehicle, you would have thought they'd put it here, but I guess they've not really done it as a camper van in mind. But maybe in future generations they might move that socket from the front to the back, or maybe have an additional socket. So you've got all the mechanics, you've got all the water pump etc., all easily accessible behind that. Now at the NEC show, we're speaking to the owner of Slidepods, and a few of the comments which were coming out were about the storage underneath, because on this Kia it's got storage underneath the actual the vehicle floor. So what they've actually done now, they've designed a different floor where in the back behind the passenger seats there's a hatch, and you can actually access that area, and there's things stored in there. And I've just discovered that there was something in there which I didn't know was in there, which would have been really, really helpful when I was sleeping in here. But never mind, that's another story which I'll come on to later on in the video. So as far as the roof's concerned, so this has got a roof tent. So it's got the Skypod roof tent, which I slept in on the second night, and I will go into that a little bit more detail as to how I actually found that. But yeah, this is a Skypod tent. I am hoping to test out a couple of other brands later this year. There's one in particular which I've been hoping to test for quite a few years now, so hopefully I'll get in one of those. But to be perfectly honest with you, this is a rather cost-effective product, and it was actually really comfortable and also quite easy to put up. But yeah, as I say, I'll go into that a little bit later on. So yeah, so this is what I have actually spent the last 3 nights in, but you're seeing this at the start of the video because I wanted just to kind of show you what I'm going to be doing. Anyway, now in the video I'm going to be heading off to buy some food for me to cook using the vehicle's electric. Let's see how I get on. Obviously there was a problem. So good morning. Well, what a lovely place to wake up. We've got the birds tweeting, there's been animals in the night, got obviously animal next to me which we're just about to go for a walk. But the problem which I mentioned is these windows have not got any blinds or any curtains, so they do let the light in. Now Kia, where I picked it up from, they have actually put a limo tin obviously on the rear windows, but you can't do anything to the front, so that is something which is just a minor thing. So yeah, so it does need maybe some van shades. So van shades, are you aware how popular that this vehicle is seemingly to be? Lots of people seem to be snapping them up, so maybe that's a good product. Might be better than the Abercrombie shades which I've had to use to try and keep the light out this morning. Anyway, it's too hot for that, don't need that. Bed head, need to sort that out in a minute. But the plan for today, so well, in fact, first of all, let's just talk about this Slidepod. So I'm here, I've got the Duvet mattress here. Duvet, like I've mentioned a million times before, absolutely fantastic, but you don't actually need it for this, because this Slidepod foam, I'm not sure if you can see that there, but this Slidepod foam is so thick and so comfortable, it's not really something that you kind of actually need. You don't really need a duvet. You could just get away with just a duvet, or you know, maybe a blanket, pinch your blanket instead. Yeah, it's just a really comfortable bed. I mean, I've used these before, and yeah, it is a really very, very comfortable bed, because it is just that purposely made for sleeping on. This obviously sits on a wooden bedboard, which I'll show you over the next few days. But the second problem, now I've just got a light here. I mean, this is just a camera light for actually doing video stuff. But there's no lights in the rear of this. And there's also no lights in the tailgate. So yeah, that is something else which kind of needs to be looked at. Potentially kind of putting some lights up here. I think this is the fixing system which they've got, where different components are going to be coming out from Kia. So maybe lights are going to be on the top of that list to be putting in there, because you definitely need, you do really do need light in here. Obviously last night I used, you know, various different lights, but nothing was, you know, what I really needed. I'm going to head down into Cornwall now. That's not going to be the final destination. The final destination is going to be Devon, North Devon. But yeah, I'm going to go into Cornwall and then back up through Devon, because there is somewhere which I need to stop off at the way. But first of all, I need to get this van packed up, go back, get a load of stuff, get rid of this one because she's a nightmare from trying to film all day. So yeah, I shall see you back on the road very soon. Well, when I left site, when I left Riverside, it was pretty grim. The forecast was meant to be nice, but it did look like it might not be a very nice day. Anyway, it has brightened up. But about Riverside, yes, I did go to the site, didn't do a review because that's not for me. The reviews are best left to Nemo's Camper Adventures. Got it right there, Neil. Obviously, because he's obviously down south, so he does those. The campsite which I'm going to go to later today is up north. Well, North Devon, that is. So obviously, with it being up north, that's where you're going to be wanting Colin from Yorkshire Popped Up Adventures. So yeah, so they do the campsite reviews. So I'm just going to stay out of that. I might say what I see if there's anything of interest there, which there certainly is at the place which I'm going to. I'm really excited to see it. Hopefully, I've got a pitch which I've requested. But yeah, I mean, I've paid for the site, and just in the any special requirements, yes, can I have? And I shall let you know on that. But the place I'm off to now is a farm shop, because obviously I need some food, and I'm going to be testing out the capabilities of this vehicle. Obviously it's got the V2L, the vehicle to load, so you can actually use the traction battery of the vehicle to actually power your devices. So I've got induction hob, I've got something for cooking steak, so what I'm going to need is obviously the food, and what better place to go than a farm shop. Anyway, just as I'm travelling down here, just thought I'd give you a brief update of the driving, because I've now been driving for, I don't know what, 30 miles or something like that. Mix of lanes, going down some country lanes, going down dual carriageway, and yeah, it's no change in my opinion so far. Do like it. Battery percentage so far, I started off at, I think it was 96% when I left this morning, and at the moment it's 79, and it's saying I've got 158 miles left. So I'll have to monitor that, keep an eye on that. Consumption wise, it's 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and I'm not actually sure how that compares to normal vehicle, a normal Kia PV5 Passenger. Obviously this has got the wind restricted Skypod on the roof, and it's also got rather a lot of stuff in the back, including the Skypod, the Slidepod as well. So how much that's actually affecting it, I don't know. I guess we shall see. But yeah, on my way to Strawberry Fields now, so I'll update you about Strawberry Fields when we get there. So this is Strawberry Fields in Lifton, just on that Devon and Cornwall border. A short trip off the A30 if you've come down from up north. Obviously I came the other way, so I didn't actually see the coming home trees. But I mean, this shop, not only does it do absolutely amazing produce, and it does, you pick your own strawberries during the year, and I think they've actually got an event for tulips coming up very soon. I've seen the pictures and it looks absolutely amazing, but they do pumpkin picking and all that. You know, it's set in 200 acres of farmland. It is a working farm. You know, a lot of the produce in the shop is stuff which they've produced themselves. And I've just actually made quite a few purchases. I've just spent just shy of 54 quid pretty much on my tea. And it is only me, that's for one person. I'll show you what I bought later on. But the reason why this fits in so well with this electric vehicle is You might see that wind turbine behind me. Well, they've also got, on the roof, they've got lots and lots of solar panels. So this premises and the EV chargers, which they've now got some 300 kilowatt EV chargers. Well, it's all 100% produced renewable energy by themselves. It's being produced by that wind turbine and by those solar panels. So as far as sustainability is concerned, you know, if that's what your consideration is when you're buying an EV, then this place has got it absolutely to a T. You know, it powers everything inside. They've got an operational bakery in there where they bake their own produce. And, you know, the power coming from these panels and the turbine powers all that, you know. I think that's amazing. Anyway, let's carry on our journey to a place now where we're going to go back in time. And again, there is a reason for that. Let's get back in and have a trip down. So making good progress. I'm about 10 miles away from my next destination. 2 more stops before I get to the site, and both fitting in well with this kind of whole story, the whole narrative about this vehicle. And I have just decided whilst I'm on my way up here that instead of actually doing it for 2 days, I'm going to do it for 3. And I'm welcome to Devon yet again. I've been welcome to Cornwall, then to Devon, then to Cornwall, then to Devon, then to Cornwall again. Seriously, these roads intertwine so much. You do get that quite a lot on these northern coastal roads. North Devon coastal roads, North Cornwall, not proper north. No, that's where I'm from. And funnily enough, actually, rather interestingly, I've now actually lived in Devon for 50% of my life. I'm 48 and I've lived here now, as of this very month, for 24 years. So I can actually say that I'm not half Devon, am I? No, but I've lived here for half my life anyway. And the place I'm actually going now, if I was still up north and I was speaking to lads up north, then they'd be saying, I'm going Clovelly and I'm going to have a scone, but I'm not up north, am I? So I'm going to Clovelly and I'm going to have a cream tea, a Devon cream tea, which is cream first. I don't really care which way it is. I'm not particularly bothered. I don't want to upset anybody, so I'll have it either way it comes. But then I'm going to accept the Cornish if I have. Who really cares? Let's face it. Anyway, that's where I'm heading now. So why have I come to the beautiful place of Clovelly? Well, it's just to highlight the total contrast of where we've come from and where we're potentially going. You know, in the 14th century, people were using donkeys and sledges to get up and down this hill. They still actually are today. But the actual transport around those kind of times, that's what it was. It was donkeys. It was various different animals. And that's what we've had over the years. Over the years, we've had transportation by horses, donkeys, ponies, things such as that. We've had various different types of carts. You know, we started off with the horse and cart, and then that's progressed to horse and carriages, more horses and bigger carriages. And then we've got onto various different engines, various different motors, various different power sources actually providing these motors. And over the years, we've just increased and improved and just got better and better. But all along the way, there's always been pros and cons. And that's where we are now. You know, we've got electric vehicles, but not everybody's going to like them. And yes, there are cons to them, but there are also a lot of pros. And it's just a point in time where we are now. It might not be the final solution, as it wasn't in the 14th or 15th century. You know, when they were using the donkeys here, things evolve over time. Now, I really was a skeptic, a big skeptic of EVs. You know, there's no emotion. You know, there's nothing to them. The range is absolutely rubbish. But my thoughts on that got completely put to bed when I test drove that ID Buzz. You know, when I drove that Buzz and did 1,000 miles in it, I realised that actually it was far better than I thought. And the infrastructure was far better than that is actually perceived. You know, the range of them now, you know, it has drastically improved. And the actual charging of them is really quick. I'll obviously explain a little bit more about that as I get on with this one, because this range of this one isn't as much as it got on my Volkswagen ID7. But the point of being here is from the 14th century to the 21st century, which we are now. There's been lots of different things in between. And what there has been back then isn't around now. And I'm sure EVs in the future are probably just going to be a stepping stone for something else. But I've embraced it. You know, I am still a petrol head. And in fact, next week I'm going to be driving a, well, extremely powerful German product, which I might bring to the channel if I can somehow think of a reason why it should actually be there. Yeah, watch this space for that one. Anyway, how beautiful is Clovelly? What an absolutely amazing place this is. So I've arrived, turned up, started to put the awning up, and oh my word, has it been windy. So I got the awning up, and because I could see that it was getting a bit late, been down to the sea, took my robe with me, put my swim shorts on, and the waves are just, it's just not worth it. There's a lot of rip currents here, so set against it, went for a paddle, went knee deep, and God, it was freezing. But now, as the sun's going down, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to talk about the setup of the van just yet, but as you can see, we've got the awning, got the Skypod on there. I'm going to put that up in a bit, but first of all, I'm going to cook some food. I'll show you what I got at the farm shop this afternoon, and then get it cooked using a brand new air fryer, which is campervan specific, or leisure industry specific, should I say, the induction hob, and also a T-fell grill. Let's get inside and cook. So first of all, you're going to notice I've got myself a Yeti cool box. Red probably wouldn't have been the preferable choice, but I got a really good deal on it, so I went for it. And it's got the wheels, so basically I can wheel it around, kind of put my camera gear on top, so if I'm traveling somewhere, yeah, it basically makes sense. Anyway, strawberry fields purchases. Yeah, so I spent $53.92, I think it was. So some potatoes, perfect for making chips. Now, it might be healthy eating, but I'm not on a massive diet, so I can still have things like that in moderation. And the reason is I'm having chips is because I've got steak. You've got to have steak and chips, haven't you? So I've got a ribeye steak because it just looks beautiful, but I also wanted a fillet as well. So, so I just spent 25 quid on steak. That's why it was $53.92. So steak, got some broccoli, got some milk, gonna need some milk for a drink. I got green beans, some clementines, healthy snack. Got some tomatoes on the vine, peppercorn sauce, Waldorf salad. I should have had that as a snack, never mind. Raspberry lemonade drink, I do like that. I don't have that now, need a drink. And a spoon from a Waldorf salad. So that is what I've got for tea, steak and chips. And like I've said, the way we're going to be cooking it, need to get these out at room temperature now. The way I'm going to be cooking it is by using the T-fell grill. So we're utilising the electric vehicle, you know, we're utilising the battery power from that vehicle, so it's kind of got to be done, hasn't it? So we've got pans, induction pans. You've got to obviously have the correct pans to be able to use an induction hob, because this Slidepod has now got an induction hob. When I did the original video of this van, people were moaning that it was gas. They've now actually got it with an induction hob. And also, like I mentioned, a campervan leisure specific air fryer. Now this is completely in the box, so I'm going to have to open that up. So I'll get that opened up, get all the electric on, put it into utility mode, which you've got to do with the vehicle, which I'll explain to you when we start talking about the vehicle specific aspects of it. But yeah, let's get all this open, get it cooking, and we'll see how we get on. What's going on with this? No! Disaster! Absolute disaster. Cooked slightly too long because of the V2L, because it went wrong. I think I overloaded it, went off, couldn't handle all the power, so it has overcooked it a little bit. That was my fillet steak. I've decided that I'm going to save the ribeye tomorrow. So anyway, I'm going to enjoy this, and then I'm going to go and watch the sunset. that was a lovely dinner. Just overloaded it, so I couldn't have the other steak. It just kept tripping every time I tried putting a couple of things on at once. So I'll have to have a look at, see what the actual power usage of each of those devices are to find out where I went wrong. So I will report back on that. But before it goes completely dark, I need to get this up because I don't even know how to do it. Unclip, I've been told. So here we go. In fact, there is a ladder. Love it. Right, now I'm going to get changed. I'm going to have a walk down into Croyde. I think the sun's already gone, so I've missed that. So yeah, walk down into Croyde. There's a pub which I went into many years ago. So I'm going to have a walk down there. Billy no mates. Go and see what's going on.
Sleeping in this roof tent, it's about, what is exactly 4 o'clock in the morning. The forecast was that the wind was going to be picking up around 4 o'clock, and boy has it. It's just it's gusting quite bad. It's quite funny when you're in a roof tent. No idea how the awning is doing down there, but I like this roof tent, if I'm honest with you. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to talk about it too much. Temperature's also dropped as well, so got the duvet. So I've got the duvet, as you can see there, and then I've got the passenger blanket, which I've chucked over the top because I was getting a little bit. It was a small gust. Yeah, because it was getting a little bit cold, and yeah, I don't sleep with any. I've got box shorts on. I don't sleep with anything else on. Yeah, I don't like sleeping with clothes on. So yeah, chuck the passenger blanket over the top. All's good. Because obviously, when we're being in the roof tent, I can't be using the heater, which I will show you tomorrow night. But yeah, not sure if you can see any of that, but this is inside the roof tent at 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I'm going to go back to sleep now and see you in the morning. Morning view from the roof tent. And look, the awning's still up. It is still a bit windy. Just been down for a walk down to the beach, and yeah, the sea is extremely rough. There's not going to be any surfers at Croyde today, I wouldn't have thought. Also got this massive side opening here. I do like roof tents. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more in the future. But yeah, this is my first time, like I said last night, first time ever actually sleeping in a roof tent, and I like it. Right, now I need to get up and I need to do something and show you something which you might never have seen in a campervan video before. So I'm going to get myself up and go down and sort myself out. Because today I'm going to work. Well, you won't have seen this in a campervan video before. Ironing my work shirt. But the point of this is, obviously I'm going to work and I need to iron a shirt, but it's not heated up yet. But it's an electric vehicle, and I plugged my iron into the vehicle, the V2L side of things. Now, obviously last night I had a bit of a problem. I did overload the system. I tried using the induction hob, which I found out is now rated at 1,800 watts. The grill I was using was 2,000 watts. So them two together with the induction hob on the maximum setting, that's what was tripping it out. So obviously I know now for the future, if I ever do that again, and don't forget, because I cocked up my steak last night, I've got another steak for tonight. So I shall give it another go tonight. Anyway, this iron's warmed up now, so I shall iron my shirt, go and have a shower, hence the cap, and then I'll be off to work, and I will catch up with you again a little bit later on. It's just a bit of an update then on my journey this morning. So yeah, so the reason kind of why I've been telling kind of a lot of stories along the way is just to be showing you that how versatile the vehicle actually is. Going to all these different places, the different kind of roads, talking about the electric and the history and how the adaptations have taken place over the years, you know, from the animal drawn carriages to EVs. And like I said, it's probably not going to end here. There's probably going to be something else. I mean, it's often talked about hydrogen, or it might be EV, but just a completely different sort of battery system. But anyway, quick stop here, because as you can see, I'm at a charging station. So as far as range is concerned, now the range is a bit of a funny one for this, because obviously I've used the heater, which I'll talk about again tomorrow. So I've used the heater, putting it in utility mode, and then using the heater whilst actually staying in the vehicle on the first night. And then yesterday, obviously I did all that cooking, tripped the electrics a couple of times, so obviously was kind of using quite a bit there. So the range I've got here with 14% battery left, and I'd done about 160 miles, I think it is. So yeah, that range is lower than I would have hoped for, but how much of the battery was actually used doing the cooking? I know actually last night doing the cooking and things, I think it used 3-4% of the battery. So, you know, that's quite a few miles lost there. And then the heating, I'll find out tonight. When I finish work tonight, got a few things to do, and then I'll be going out in the van again, and I'll be sleeping in it again. So I'll be able to find out exactly how much percentage of the battery the heater uses. So anyway, off to work now, just showing that versatility. Camped in it last night, off to work. I shall speak to you again in a little while. My driving experience has come to an end. So what do I think of it? The van, first of all. So it's electric, and like I've said before, I do actually like electric. Been driving electric for quite a while now, and all those problems which a lot of people talk about kind of been dispelled as far as I've been concerned. So the drive itself, it's a pleasure to drive. It really is nice to drive. I think that the actual visibility from the van is superb as well. I mean, look at the size of these windows, great big windows. Obviously you've got a nice big windscreen in front, and then you've got glass, got a nice little opening there as well, so you can see through the gaps there. And then you've got good visibility with the windows behind. But also mirrors. And whilst I was driving, I think, what do these mirrors remind me of? And I think it's elephant's ears. They are massive wing mirrors, but what that means is you can actually see kind of effectively the full height of the vehicle. So you can actually see all the way behind, top to bottom. So when you're actually parking, you can see the lines where you're actually parking, and then obviously you've got good visibility around as well. The mirrors work really well, and because it's got a glazed tailgate, you've got a nice mirror here which allows you to see through the rear of the vehicle as well. And because there's no kitchen units, because it is just a removable camper van, then you've got that full visibility from the tailgate. So as far as that's concerned, there's no problems at all. I really quite like that. And then the actual vehicle. Now, this is a vehicle which is what starts at £33,000, or I think it's 36 for the top of the range model, and then there's obviously a few bits and pieces, extras and things like that which you can buy. It's really nice to drive. Everything is on the steering wheel which you need, functionality, etc. Volume controls, adaptive cruise control, your limiter. It's all there. It's really simple to use. Now, it is plasticky. I mean, this is kind of what you are going to get, but it's more of a kind of a utility vehicle, which I think I said in the first time I actually did the video on it. It's just a functional vehicle, and it's got a lot of storage. There is storage everywhere in this vehicle. Pockets on the dashboard, pockets in front in the footwell, pockets under the actual seat as well. So as far as storing your rinky dinks, your bits and pieces are concerned, especially in this cab area, there's no shortage of that, nor is there for USB-Cs. It seems to be that wherever I look there's a USB-C charging point, which is good, especially in this modern day and age, charging all your mobile phones, iPads and things like that. 100-watt USB-C charger there, so that's more than capable of, you know, providing power for your iPads. Maybe that could even provide power to some laptops as well. So
As far as the actual driving of it is concerned, the range, I'll come on to the range in a moment, but I found the driving of aspects of it slightly different to what I'm used to, but this has got the one pedal controls, so you can actually change the way the actual brakes operate on this, or actually the restriction of the motor. And you've got paddles here which can do that for you, which means you actually only need, if you would like, only 1 foot. 1 foot for the accelerator, you come off the accelerator and then it will automatically brake for you. But as I said, you can change that sensitivity, which I thought is really quite good. As far as the display screens are concerned, you've got this nice size screen in front which gives you, it's a multifunctional display, so you can change what's on there, your battery percentage, how fast you're going, it's got the sat-nav directions on it, things like that, how far you've potentially got left of your range as well. And then you've got this big infotainment screen, and on here you can have your Android Auto, you can have your Apple CarPlay, or I found the actual sat-nav, which is provided by Kia, was actually really quite useful. Now, I used it when I needed to find a charging station, so I put in there where I was actually going, and it actually told me where it recommended that I would charge, and it was very accurate. It came up with a percentage, how much charge I'd have left when I actually got to that destination, and it was absolutely spot on. Now, as far as the range was concerned, now the range as it is now, it's showing 100% charge and it's showing a 206 mile range. Now at the moment we still are in the single digit temperatures, so I do expect that to rise as we obviously get into those higher temperatures, but it's meant to do 256 miles on a full charge. Now we all know that they don't do as they say they're going to do. And as I said, I think I got about 160 for a full charge, but whilst I was doing that, that's when I was using the induction hob, I was using the T-fal grill, I was using the iron, I was using lots of other things, and that is obviously going to, you know, deplete that battery, obviously, as well as the heating as well. You know, the heating side of things, that is going to reduce the battery. So it is to be expected, but they do say that only 1% of journeys carried out, made in the UK, is over 100 miles. So if only 1% of journeys are over 100 miles, then actually the range isn't too much of an issue. And I do know that, yes, when you are going to be doing the camping trips, the longer trips, you probably are going to be doing that over 100 miles. But it's really quick and really straightforward to actually charge the vehicle. So 206 miles. So are you really not going to stop before you've actually expelled that range? I think not. You know, I would definitely stop before then. You're going to want to go for a toilet, you'd want to go for a drink or stop at something like that. And what that means is all you do is you stop, you plug in, you go in, you do what you need to do, and then you come back out again, and by the time you come back out, it's charged. You know, the charging capabilities, the speeds of these vehicles now is much, much faster than it used to be. And additionally, by using the actual onboard sat-nav, it conditions the battery because it knows when you're going to be stopping to charge, so it can make sure that that battery is at its optimum, so it can take as much charge as fast as it possibly can. So that's the actual vehicle itself. Now we need to talk about the V2L and what that can do. So let's actually get back out of the van and talk about that a little bit more outside. Now something else we need to talk about is the space in the back of this van. And look at it, there's absolutely loads of space. I mean, I'm what, 6'6"? I'm nowhere near 6'6", I'm only 5'9", maybe a little bit more. But there's absolutely loads of room in here, like really, really is lots and lots of room. But this is where the V2L is. This is where you actually plug in. So you've got the cable here to be connecting, the extension cable to be connecting all the devices at the back. But the actual power outlet is here in between the driver and the passenger seat. So you do have a trailing cable between. Now obviously when you are going to be sleeping at night, when you're generally going to be using the V2L, there's going to be nobody here anyway, so it might not be too much of a problem, but I'm sure there can be a way that that cable somehow could be routed around to the back. But this is only an issue for the passenger vehicle, because on the cargo has got the socket in the actual rear of the vehicle. And just as we're talking in the front when we're talking about USB-Cs, I mean, there's two more here.
like I said, they are just dotted around all over the place. So yeah, so space in the rear, but not only have you got the space, but you've also got heated seats. You've got heated seats in the rear. And these just nice to fold down. Pull that switch there. I don't need the heated seat on there, I'm not good sitting in. And they just go forward and back. So yeah, so they really is a practical vehicle, perfect for carrying passengers. Let's go a bit further around. So the camper aspect of it then. So yes, so Slidepod, obviously 2 people downstairs, at the Skypod bed as well, which is obviously 2 people upstairs as well. Both beds extremely comfortable, no concerns, no problems whatsoever with the beds. Like I said before, I mean, look at the thickness of that foam. I mean, that really is comfortable. Didn't really need the duvet for downstairs, like I did explain. And upstairs as well. Now, the actual foam might not be as thick, but it was still really comfortable. Maybe because of the duvet. So, this, perfect. Induction hob, can't argue with that. Did I just turn the induction hob on? Do apologise for that. No, it's got the child lock on. Induction hob with the child lock. Yes, so that was one of the problems though I did encounter, but that was actually just user error, not knowing the wattage of the various different appliances, which made me actually trip out the electrics. So yeah, so the V2L on the Kia is 3.6 kilowatt, 3,600 watts, and the watt of the induction hob was 1,800. The Tefal grill was 2,000, so that equals 3,800. So once you've got the induction hob on maximum, it's running at its full 1,800 watts, and it tripped it out, which obviously meant that the steak, it turned off. So what normally happens on the Tefal grill is you turn it on, it measures the depth of the steak, and then it cooks it to perfection. So it'll beep, it'll show you on the colour chart, this is now rare, this is now medium rare, and you know kind of when to take it out. Because it had tripped it, it had turned it back off again, and it was still obviously cooking it. I didn't actually know how far cooked it was, and by the time I'd realised that's still cooking and it's not going to beep, then it was too late. Hence I had a medium rather than a medium rare. Wasn't the end of the world, but it was a nice piece of Philly steak and I wanted it cooked to perfection. User error, not this error. Obviously I had the air fryer as well. Now the air fryer was only 900 watt, so that wasn't a problem at all, running that in conjunction with the Tefal grill. Obviously I could only run 2 appliances at once. 1 because I've only got the 2 sockets, because the extension leads only the double, and 3 because I did know all 3 wouldn't be capable of doing it. But you just time these things, you know, you do things, you time things perfectly, like you do in your kitchen at home. You know, you make sure that you time everything so it's done well. Now, something else which I've used it for is charging my e-bike. No problem at all. Wattage on that is really, really low. Use coffee machine. Again, no issues at all, because that's well below the 3,600. But something I never ever thought that I would personally buy is a hairdryer. I bought a hairdryer. Yes, I am actually growing my hair a little bit longer at the moment. Well, actually, a little bit longer. So I've got the Heiss of London a hairdryer and the products as well. And I'm actually really quite liking it. It's really easy to use, really nice and light. It's not a review of the hairdryer, but I'm just saying the actual vehicle can be powering devices such as that. So hair straighteners and things like that. 3,600 watt. So it's going to be more than capable of, you know, that off-grid capability for you. And with the battery of the vehicle, the traction battery being 71 kilowatts, it is going to last a heck of a long time. You know, so you don't have the concerns of, you know, running out like, you know, you would do with your leisure battery on a vehicle which you know you might be using for your normal camper van. It just isn't going to be that problem. Now, what you do have to consider is if you are running the heating and you are running all these devices, are you going to have enough electricity, you know, to get to your next destination the following day? And the way the system's actually set up for that is you can actually, it'll only drop to a certain percentage, which you can set it at. So if you're saying, actually tomorrow I'm going to definitely need 20% battery power to be able to get to my next stop, my next destination, my next battery charger, then you can set it to 20% and it won't actually go down any further than that 20%. or whatever else it may be. You know, you can set that to what exactly you need it to be. So before I come on to the rest of the problems, concerns, the changes, the adaptations which I might make to it, you know, I will say that this isn't going to be for everybody. It's an option, as with a lot of these things as far as campervans are concerned. It's an option. It's been a very popular option over the years for Slidepods. They've sold a lot of units. Roof tents are becoming more and more popular, so it is definitely becoming an option. But there are other products being developed which could actually be used in conjunction with this. You know, Combe Valley Campers, they've got their own Kia PV5. They absolutely love the vehicle, so they've gone out and they bought a cargo, and they're currently developing products. They're currently working on swivel seat bases, pop tops, various different electrical systems for your van. They've got the door cards. You know, there's lots of different things which are currently being developed on this. It does seem to be a really, really popular van. You know, we've got Skyline. They're also developing a pop-top roof for it as well. I think it is going to be popular. You know, the price point of it, like I said, £36,000 for a fully electric vehicle, passenger vehicle, great daily vehicle. You know, it is going to be popular, and that's why all these companies, and it isn't just them, there are others as well who've jumped on it. You know, it is going to be a product which we're going to be seeing a lot more, and this is just one of the many available options. But the big beauty about this one is the fact that it's a passenger vehicle now, and you can actually buy it. You could buy it on finance, your PCP, where you're not allowed to make any vehicle modifications, put all this in it, all this on it, and then return it to standard without anybody ever knowing. You know, there's no drilling, there's no screwing, and there's nothing, there's no adaptations having to be made. You know, for about £7,000, you can be adding a full-on camper conversion to your passenger vehicle. And I think it's a great option. Now, just to touch on, you know, some of the potential problems, some of the concerns which, well, first of all, one of the concerns which people had initially when I did that initial video was, well, what happens when it rains? Well, it did rain whilst I was out and about and I was actually camping. But you've got the awning. You know, the awning, the tailgate awning, you know, it comes out at the back. Relatively easy to put up as far as awnings are concerned. You know, it was an Air One tailgate awning which covers the entire tailgate, so you can actually have the tailgate up and the awning is still there. You can obviously drive away with it as well because it's a drive away awning, but it covers all this as well, and then that gives you that additional storage, that additional luggage area, so you can actually empty things out of the van and put them in the awning and drive off, or, you know, do whatever you need to do. Other problem which I touched on was the windows. Now I know that is being addressed, that is currently being looked at. Blinds are being looked at. Hopefully van shades are going to be onto that, because like I said, this is going to be a popular vehicle, so I think it might be something which van shades do jump onto. Lights in the rear, there is a light actually in here. I didn't see it. It's in that storage area behind the rear seats, but they have actually already solved that one. They put some lights in this vehicle, because this vehicle, before I forget, is actually a hire vehicle. You can actually hire this from Murray in Plymouth, and you can actually hire this vehicle as a camper van. This exact vehicle, you can hire it. So yeah, so do check out the website as far as that's concerned. Now the next minor gripe, which I've already mentioned, is that socket. The socket being at the front, not a major problem, like I say, because most of the times when you're actually going to need that, you're not going to have any passengers sat on that back seat, so that might not be a concern with the extension lead. But for future vehicles, I'm hoping that even on the passenger, they might think about putting another socket here. But like I said, for the cargo, the socket's in the back anyway. Now, the other thing as far as the V2L is concerned and the utility mode, you can't actually put the vehicle in utility mode whilst the actual traction battery is charging. So whether that is just a software thing which needs to be changed or not, I don't know. I know Kia are actually trying to have a look into that at the moment to see if it is something which could potentially be changed, but you can't actually charge it and use the utility battery at the same time. So maybe in the future that might be something else which is going to be changed, adapted. Now, as I mentioned, obviously the V2L tripped out, but that was user error. That was just a problem which was caused by myself. So I'm not really going to
think of that as being a problem, but you know, if you are hiring it, if you are doing it, then just make sure you do the proper calculations. I'd underestimated what I thought this induction hob was. I didn't realise it was actually 1800 watt at full belt. So yeah, that was my fault. As far as the awning's concerned, the awning problem which I came across when I had this was pegs. It was just standard pegs which come with an awning, the camper awning. Awnings generally come with rubbish pegs, so that is definitely something which I would change for this. Already spoke to them about it and they're already on the case, so hopefully by the time the next person actually hires this vehicle, the pegs will be proper pegs. Now, the other thing which I do need to mention before somebody else mentions it is when you are in the bed, you can't really sit up. The actual height of the vehicle is the restrictive side of that. I mean, this is pretty much as low as it can potentially go. But if you are in bed and you are tall, like I am, then actually sitting up might not be very easy for you to do because the roof height is low. And the same goes for the ID Buzz. So if you compare it to the Buzz, that's, you know, the same thing is going to go. So that's something which you're going to have a look at. So all in all, I've really enjoyed my time in this van, especially now the sun's come out. I tell you what, it's been sunny, it's been raining, it's been sunny, it's been raining. But now the temperatures are warming up. We're going to be getting into, you know, the latter end of March soon. Temperatures warming. You know, people are going to be starting to think about getting into camper vans. And yeah, this Slidepod roof tent, this Kia van, it's definitely going to be an option for some. It won't be for everybody, like I've said, and I always say in my videos, I can only bring to you and talk about what I actually see. And I know everything is going to be different for everybody else. A video which I've got coming soon though, again, is going to be highlighting that exact thing. A brand new T7 transporter camper van, which is going to have a camper conversion, but not a typical camper conversion. So do look out for that video. That is going to be coming very soon. Anyway, what do you think of this van? Is it something you might consider yourself? Whether it is the Slidepod or just the actual passenger vehicle itself. Is it something you're interested in? Do let me know in the comments. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos about camper vans, then please do have a look at those here. Thanks for watching, take care, I hope to see you soon.